Hey everyone, Brandon here, and in today's video I'm going to be going over the 3 biggest mistakes I've made in my Amazon business, so hopefully you can avoid some of the heartache that I went through learning this all the hard way. So with that said, let's get into it. So to start off, my very first mistake that I made that I consider one of my biggest was right in the beginning of my business, and that was when I started to see a little bit of success with Amazon. I just started to see my very first few sales roll in. I had just gone through my very first Q4, and I started thinking, wow, if this one thing is working, then stacking on 4 other things could be way better. I think everyone hears that stereotypical phrase where every millionaire has 7 different streams of income. Well, I thought I need to get my other 6. So I started going in and looking into drop shipping. I started looking into Shopify, investing in real estate, day trading, all the other types of niches you'll see in the online space. And I started researching and starting projects. And when I'd get started with one, I'd hop to another. And I was spending all this time learning. And then after a few months, at the end of the day, I only had all these half-started projects and nothing was making money. And so the problem with that was that I didn't have enough dedication and focus on every single thing to be able to make it successful. So that is one of the biggest things I would tell someone starting off, is that if you want to be successful, you need to hone in on one thing and give it time to bear fruit. Because if you just hop around from one thing to the next and don't take action on those items that you're learning, on everything that you're learning through courses or free material, YouTube, whatever that is, then you're never going to be able to beat out the person who's dedicating all their time and attention and focus on one thing. And so that's my very first mistake that I made. My second mistake that I made growing my company was waiting too long to hire people and going about hiring people in the wrong way. So let me explain. So back when I first got my very first warehouse, I was just starting to bring in more product and start growing my company. And I had half my business dedicated to FBM, and I had 500 orders come in one weekend out of nowhere. It just blew my mind. And I had to get 100 done on Monday, 200 done on Tuesday, and then 300 done on Wednesday. And I remember going through Monday and only getting done 50 orders. So I was just completely screwed. I remember going to my friend's house and saying, I have no idea what to do. Do you all know anybody who could just help me out for a day so I can catch up? And luckily one of my friends, she was willing to come out and help me, and her and her family helped me get through all the orders in that Tuesday. I just remember thinking the whole time, like, wow, this is amazing, being able to have people help me grow my business. And I think as entrepreneurs, we have that tendency to think that we are this grand mastermind behind the whole plan and that no one's gonna be able to do it as well as us. And it's funny to think that, like, I thought no one could handle prep, but you know, back then I was just like, I'm the only one who's going to be able to understand the software to print stickers, or I'm the only one who's going to be able to know how to read the listings to combine the products and do it correctly, because I was so afraid of not being able to, or getting dinged because things were sent out wrong. And in all reality, it just took the proper training and systems in place to be sure that it did get made correctly. And that was part 1 of that second mistake. The next half of that second mistake, like I mentioned earlier, is I didn't have the right approach to hiring great people. And so I had to develop this way of being able to find people. I mean, back then I had no idea, like Craigslist ads, Facebook, whatever. And so I learned first how to market our company, but then also how to sell our company in the beginning, because initially when you're bringing in people, you know, there's going to be big companies around everybody that are going to pay more or have better benefits, whatever that is. But you have to take advantage of being a small business. You have the flexibility that some of these larger corporations do not have. For instance, we implemented a 4-day work week. Everyone gets a 3-day holiday every single weekend, and some people absolutely love that. We don't do mandatory overtime unless we have to, and some people come from companies who are mandatory 60 hours a week, 70 hours a week. You have to think about employees and get in their perspective. So not everybody is only incentivized by monetary things. Some people want a quality of life or a work-life balance. There's a lot of different things you have to consider, and so be sure to keep that in mind when you're pitching potential employees. And I'm not saying that you need to pay minimum wage. You need to be competitive in some way, shape, or form, but offering those other things in addition means that you can get employees who might have made $5 or $6 more an hour, but giving them a better quality of life. And that is my second biggest mistake and tip trying to get employees. My third biggest mistake that I made was as we were continuing to scale our business, and that was not having a system to be able to find and onboard new suppliers. So let me explain. I think everybody here who has started a business has their core group of suppliers, and that's going to take you to a certain point. The problem is, in order to continue to grow, you need to make sure you have a system for finding, reaching out, and opening and ordering from new suppliers. And the problem that I had in the beginning was that I was great at the outreach. I loved the research end and I loved reaching out, but then I failed on the follow-up, and once I'd opened the account, doing the research to place an order. And it's funny because today we have accounts that we had just started ordering from, like this year and last year, that I had actually opened accounts from and reached out to over 4 years ago. And now these accounts, these very same accounts, are going to be some of our biggest suppliers this year. And that just comes from me not having a system to follow up and keep track of who I've reached out to. And some of you might have a system in place, but for those of you who don't, I have made a PDF for y'all down, I'm gonna link in the description, that's going to go over everything and how we've systemized it, because I wanted to make this because this is something I wish someone would have taught me when I was first starting off, because I think that was the biggest bottleneck I had growing my company, was not having a way to consistently onboard and keep track of our suppliers. And if I would have had this, I really think I could have cut off a couple years off of this growth and some of the heartache that I've had over the time. Now, even though I've learned all of these the hard way, there's definitely ways you can avoid all of these. You know, there are free videos online such as this, and there's paid courses, there's mentors you can reach out to. A lot of people who you see who are successful online, you can DM them and they are happy to answer your questions free of charge, and sometimes it's just a coaching call that you need. But I definitely think being able to take advice from someone who's where you want to be or the next level is super helpful to shortcut some of these mistakes. And it's not necessarily you have to pull from e-commerce sellers alone, but like general business practices are going to apply no matter what business model you're in. And so I would definitely say keeping that in mind and continuously learning is going to really help you shortcut these. And that leads into like my one tip that I would say is, if you're trying to get into Amazon and you want to be a successful seller, then you need to understand that it's not going to be a linear growth path, and there are going to be little bumps along the way. Nobody goes through a business and doesn't have problems, and it doesn't matter what scale you're at, whether it's just you, a self-employed company of one, or you've got 1,000 employees. There are always going to be issues. It just scales up and has bigger zeros at the end of it. So you want to make sure that as you progress through your journey, that you understand that those are going to happen, and as long as you keep going and pushing through and understand how to not let it happen again, then you're going to continue to see success. And with that being said, those are my 3 mistakes that I made growing my company. Now in the comments, let me know what the biggest headache you're experiencing on Amazon is, and I'll be sure to give you some tips on how you can hopefully circumvent those. If you like this kind of video, be sure to subscribe, like the video, and if you have any other questions, you can DM me on Instagram @BrandonReuter, and I'll see you in the next one.